हमारे साथ अभी जुड़े हैं वी हैव मिस्टर ओजिंग तासिंग हु इज द मिनिस्टर फॉर रूरल डेवलपमेंट एंड पंचायत अफेयर्स इन अरुणाचल प्रदेश हु इज क्लोजली involved in this issue. I have got Mr. Ninong Ering, MLA and former Union Minister, Mr. Professor Swaran Singh, Professor of JNU and a well-known China expert, and Advocate Tagori Miji. He is the legal advisor and spokesperson of the Siang Indigenous Farmers Forum, that has some reservations, a lot of reservations about the construction of the Siang Upper Multipurpose Project. I cannot say that that is India's answer to the massive mega dam that China is building, but yes, this is going to be the biggest hydropower project in the whole country in India. That is going to be 1100 megawatt, and it can store 9 billion cubic meters of water, and it is coming up at a cost of 13.2 billion US dollars. Before coming to let me go to New Delhi for a broader perspective, and before discussing the issue in Arunachal Pradesh, let me go to Dr. Swaran Singh, professor at JNU. Dr. Swaran Singh, finally in December 2023, China expressed its intention to build this mega project, which is going to be much bigger than the Three Gorges Dam that China already has, and now they are going to spend 170 billion US dollars, which is almost roughly equivalent to 15 lakh crore Indian rupees, 15 lakh crore. Dr. Swaran Singh, how do you look at this? What are the ramifications? And the stock market in China is already on the rise. The day that is on 19th, after the Prime Minister Li Qiang announced the start of work.
Exactly, Basveer, you mentioned in the opening of your program that Prime Minister Li Qiang has called it the project of the century, and it is supposed to be much larger than the world's largest Three Gorges Dam that Chinese already have. This is not all. I think your viewers also must understand that China is world's largest emitter of carbon gases, and it has its own targets to reduce its contribution to CO2 emissions and expand its renewable energy, and primarily using hydropower projects. In Tibet alone, estimates are 194 big and small dams are planned, projected, are already there. About 100 are already there. Another 95 are being constructed and designed. And on this river that we are discussing, which Chinese call Yarlung Tsangpo, we call it Brahmaputra, Bangladesh calls it Jamuna. On this river itself, there are already 28 dams in place, and the largest dam so far was Changmu Dam that was commissioned in 2015.
Yes.
So it's a whole mushrooming of dams all over this plateau with steep valleys and big rivers, and China has a policy that they call drifting electricity from west to east because they need enormous amounts of electricity. And therefore, I think this is the largest dam, but it is located in a region which has so many other dams. And the problem that India realized was 25 years back. You will remember when we had very severe floods in Arunachal Pradesh and Himachal Pradesh.
Right.
That led to opening of negotiations with China, and we signed an agreement, an MOU with them, that during monsoon period, Chinese will supply us hydrological data. That agreement is renewed several times, but remember, June 2023, that agreement expired and has not been renewed. Even otherwise, Chinese in difficult situations of tension would not share the data, saying there are technical problems with the monitoring stations and so on. So what we are saying here is that yes, China needs its requirement to expand hydropower power generation, but the fear that this can be potentially weaponized, and that second, it can also, without any intentions, impact major biodiversity issues, major ecological issues, the fragile Himalayan environment.
Right.
That I think is multiple concerns that Tibetans have, and BBC says they were protesting and they were arrested and beaten up. India has protested, Bangladesh has protested, and of course, a whole lot of other people around the world who are worried about fragile Himalayas. So even if the water is not weaponized by Chinese, there are serious concerns even without that, and I think India has been talking to Chinese on this.
Yeah.
But Chinese are obviously insistent on mega dams, where the world is today increasingly talking about smaller dams and mid-sized dams,
We will
and not mega dams.
we will go into details, Dr. Swaran Singh. Come back to Ojingta Singh. Mizi ji, आपका पास मैं दोबारा आऊँगा. Let me take a broader picture once again from Dr. Swaran Singh. Dr. Swaran Singh, let's play that little bite of. There are two chief ministers, while Pema Khandu, the Chief Minister of Arunachal Pradesh, describes it as an existential threat if the dam is constructed by the Chinese, that it is going to overwhelm the people, overwhelm the situation. Chinese will be able to either flood the region or lead to a drought by closing the water supply. The Assam Chief Minister is saying that there is nothing much to worry at the moment. Government of India is looking into the matter, and his contention is that 70% of the Brahmaputra's rivers do not originate in the Tibetan plateau. That it's a rain-fed river, and statistics are showing that Tibet's annual rainfall is sparse at 300 mm annually, whereas Northeast India gets 2,300 mm of rainfall annually. So there are divergent opinions. Have you ever applied your mind to this? And the Chinese seems to have already set a deadline of 2030, and here we are talking about conducting the pre-feasibility report with government struggling to get the villagers of these 12 villages come to a agreeable point.
I think you have already said this. The speed of delivering on mega projects is different when it comes to China and India. You have underlined that India being a democracy, and we all heard Deputy CM of Arunachal Pradesh sharing with us that they are trying to create attractive packages and have a piecemeal negotiations with the people village after village to get each family's signatures, and we have a different process of how we will move forward. So there is no doubt, first of all, speed of building mega projects in India and China is definitely different. What can be done is, I think, this issue of transparency, that all the stakeholders, including the people who are going to be impacted upon by sort of displacement during the project on Siang River on Indian side, will have to be taken into confidence, and that is going to take some certain amount of time. There is no doubt about it. Meanwhile, I think India should also work at different levels, working with Bangladesh, working with China, as to how we can ensure that the fear that the Arunachal Chief Minister underlines in terms of existential threat of China being able to weaponize these dams and either make Indian rivers dry or sort of flood them during monsoon time, how that can be addressed. And I mentioned that the MOU signed in June of 2002 has expired, and now it needs to be revived also. But you also mentioned the difference between the assessments of chief ministers of Assam and Arunachal Pradesh. Very clearly, I understand, everyone knows that the major part of precipitation or the rainfall which brings water to Brahmaputra happens on Indian side of the border. But Arunachal Pradesh being a frontline state when it comes to China, and perhaps Assam is relatively more resourced also in terms of all kinds of technical capabilities, manpower, resources, and so on, could explain why the assessment is slightly different from one another. But we have to be careful and think of worst case scenarios also. It's not that naturally things are going to get worse, but potentially China can make things difficult for India, and India must prepare for those situations. And I think we should have woken up way back in 2020 when this mega project was approved as part of 14th five-year plan of China. And maybe we took certain amount of time to wake up and start responding. We definitely need to respond, keeping in mind that this kind of huge mega projects can be weaponized potentially.
Right.
And we need to build our own dams to make sure that if there is a flooding, we can control that flooding, or if there is a drought,
for example,
we should also be able to deal with that. So we are waking up, but maybe we are waking up slightly late. in responding to it.
Right. For example, the Siang Upper Multipurpose Project that is has a capacity of producing that will have because बातचीत तो हो चुका है, talks have held between SIFF and the government, but now the question is whether the government is
On the
once
ground.
again ready to give a proposal asking the SIFF to accompany some of the representatives to the ground, talk to the people, and as Dr. Swaran Singh has said, transparency in this kind of a situation matters a lot. Let me hear from Dr. Swaran Singh. Dr. Swaran Singh, China has shown to the world that it can really implement whatever it decides to go ahead because they have. Because unlike us, as we have said right at the beginning, you also underlined the fact we are a democracy. We have to listen to every small voice, every big voice, small voice. That doesn't matter. We have to listen to the people's voice. But China doesn't have to do that. So that gives China a huge edge, isn't it? And as far as the finances are concerned, a lot of people are raising questions that the amount of money that the Chinese are going to spend in this project may not be at the end of the day worth it. That's also why people are raising this question.
Clearly, China is a different country and it is a much larger economy. It has a very different politics. So I don't think India should try to become China or can become or would like to become China. India has to look at its own advantages. And I heard the Deputy CM underlining that they are trying to create attractive packages. They are trying to talk to people from village to village, family to family. And I think that is very significant because this is a challenge which is a long haul challenge. China is going to harness Tibet, which is the water tank on the planet, and it is going to use multiple things from hydropower projects to cloud seeding to diversion of water through tunnels and all. This challenge is going to continue for a long period of time, and therefore it's important that we take all the stakeholders along, and I think each government will have its own strategy how to ensure that credibility is built and everyone is taken along, which is how Prime Minister says sabka saath. So in that sense, because it is a long haul, we have to explain to our citizens that we need also to build certain amount of projects to deal with those worst case scenarios where the fragile ecology could impact us, China's weaponization could impact us, biodiversity's negative impact could impact India, and livelihood of these people will be impacted first. People who are sitting far away will not be impacted, like I'm sitting in New Delhi. So these people who are going to be impacted both by building projects on Indian side as also by not building projects and by what China can do damage in terms of their livelihoods by weaponizing water from their side.
Absolutely.
People on the ground will have to be explained and they must understand that India also needs to build certain amount of infrastructure to deal with those dangerous possibilities of what CM of Arunachal Pradesh says the existential threat to India. Or at least the border regions.
Some more efforts.
And therefore, I think it has to be long haul strategy because it is going to continue for a longer period of time, and we have to respond piecemeal every time new challenge arises for us.
Absolutely. A long haul. This is going to be a long haul issue.